The Arctic is a vast realm of ice and wind, one of the harshest environments on Earth. Temperatures here can drop below -40 degrees Fahrenheit, and sunlight disappears for months at a time. Yet even in such extreme conditions, life endures and adapts. Among the few large mammals capable of surviving in this frozen world, the reindeer, known in North America as the caribou, stands out as one of nature's most remarkable species. Belonging to the genus Rangifer within the deer family Cervidae, it is the only member in which both males and females grow antlers. This rare trait serves not only for defense and dominance during the mating season, but also as an essential tool for digging through thick snow to reach food in the long polar winter. Reindeer inhabit a vast range across the Arctic and subarctic regions of the Northern Hemisphere, stretching from Scandinavia and Siberia to Alaska, Canada, and Greenland, following the tundra and taiga biomes that encircle the top of the world. Over thousands of years, they have evolved to synchronize perfectly with the extreme rhythm of the polar climate. Their double-layered coat is made up of hollow hairs that trap air, providing superb insulation, while also increasing buoyancy when swimming across rivers or melting ice. Beneath the fur lies a thick layer of fat that stores energy during the long, dark months when food is scarce. One of the most extraordinary biological adaptations of the reindeer is its nasal structure. The nasal cavity is designed to warm the icy air before it enters the lungs, conserving body heat and moisture. Their hooves also change with the seasons, soft and spongy in summer for moving easily across the wet tundra, and hard and sharp in winter for digging through snow and gripping ice. The reindeer's diet depends heavily on lichen, also called reindeer moss, a slow-growing symbiosis of fungus and algae that carpets the tundra. During winter, lichen becomes the primary food source, providing energy through a unique carbohydrate called lichinin. When spring arrives and vegetation returns, they broaden their diet to include grasses, willow shoots, and other fresh plants, replenishing lost nutrients. The relationship between reindeer and their environment represents an exquisite ecological balance. They are a keystone species of the Arctic ecosystem, a vital food source for wolves and bears, while also maintaining plant diversity by dispersing seeds and controlling overgrowth. For millennia, reindeer have also been central to human survival. Indigenous peoples, such as the Sami of Northern Europe, the Nenets of Siberia, and the Inuit of North America, have relied on reindeer for food, clothing, and transport. Domesticated herds remain the foundation of Arctic culture, while wild populations continue their endless migrations across ice and snow. Today, an estimated 3 to 4 million reindeer roam the planet, yet many populations are in decline due to climate change, habitat loss, and expanding industrial activity. Melting ice alters migration routes, while unpredictable snow and freeze events hinder their ability to find lichen beneath the surface. Despite these challenges, the reindeer remains one of Earth's most resilient animals. Every feature of its body, every behavior and reflex is the result of thousands of generations sculpted by the frozen hand of evolution, a living testament to precision and endurance in nature. Studying the reindeer not only deepens our understanding of biological adaptation, but also offers a powerful perspective on how life can persist and flourish at the very limits of the planet's extremes. In the natural world, few animals undertake migrations as vast and demanding as the reindeer. Each year, they travel an average distance of between 1,800 and 3,000 miles, one of the longest journeys of any land mammal. This migration has no fixed destination, but follows the rhythm of food cycles, weather patterns, and biological instincts shaped by tens of thousands of years of evolution. Reindeer migrate seasonally, beginning in spring when the snow melts and fresh vegetation emerges. Massive herds, numbering in the hundreds of thousands, move northward from the taiga forests to the open tundra, where they give birth and raise their young. By autumn, as the grass withers and snow returns, they head south again, seeking shelter from blizzards and access to food in the forests. This cycle repeats each year, synchronized with the pulse of the Arctic climate. The social structure of reindeer herds is remarkably fluid. During migration, herds may merge or split, depending on terrain and food availability. The leaders are usually experienced females, guiding the group across glaciers, swamps, and mountain ranges. Adult males often travel alone or in small groups outside the breeding season. Movement is directed by environmental cues, such as the position of the sun, wind direction, soil scent, and Earth's magnetic field. Studies suggest that reindeer can sense the magnetic field through light-sensitive proteins in their retinas, allowing them to navigate even under dim light or during weeks of polar darkness. The energy demands of migration are immense. Reindeer must cross wetlands, thick snow, and melting ice fields, expending enormous effort. They rely on stored fat and efficient metabolism to sustain endurance. Their body temperature can drop slightly during rest to conserve energy, then rise again when in motion. When confronted with rivers or thawing lakes, they swim effortlessly, buoyed by their hollow fur. In the open tundra, reindeer are vulnerable to predators such as wolves and brown bears. To reduce risk, the herd keeps moving constantly, often changing directions suddenly to confuse attackers. Calves remain in the center, protected by larger adults on the outer edge. Average migration speed is about 6 to 9 miles per hour, but can double when chased. GPS tracking has shown that some herds in northern Canada can cover more than 300 miles in just a few weeks at the start of spring. When crossing open terrain, reindeer often form long single-file lines to minimize wind resistance. The sound of thousands of hooves mingling with the Arctic wind creates a distinctive acoustic signature of the tundra during migration. Their journey carries significance far beyond individual survival. By grazing and trampling lichen, they regulate vegetation growth, allowing young plants to emerge, and by spreading nutrients through droppings and urine, they enrich the soil, sustaining the fertility of the Arctic landscape. The migration of reindeer is thus a vital component of the Arctic ecosystem's biological cycle. Scientists now closely monitor changes in their migration patterns as rising global temperatures cause earlier ice melt, disrupting traditional timing. As tundra regions warm, parasitic insects, such as mosquitoes and botflies, become more abundant, draining energy and causing stress. Some herds have begun altering their routes and timing to cope with these shifts. Yet the migratory instinct remains one of the most powerful biological drives, ensuring their survival by guiding them to optimal environments for breeding, nurturing the next generation, and preserving the ecological balance of the coldest lands on Earth. The physical structure of the reindeer is the product of a long evolutionary process shaped to withstand the brutal cold of the Arctic. Every part of its anatomy is optimized for conserving energy, maintaining body heat, and ensuring mobility under extreme conditions. The reindeer's fur is its most important layer of protection. It consists of two coats, a dense inner layer of fine wool for insulation, and an outer layer of hollow guard hairs that trap air, providing both thermal protection and buoyancy in water. These hollow hairs reduce the animal's overall density and significantly increase heat retention. Optical studies show that the outer coat reflects sunlight, helping prevent heat loss in sub-zero temperatures, while also reducing overheating during summer months. Beneath the fur lies a layer of fat, about 1 to 1.5 inches thick, serving as both an energy reserve and an additional insulator. The circulatory system of the reindeer has an extraordinary mechanism for temperature control. Blood flowing from the heart to the extremities runs alongside veins, carrying cooler blood back from the limbs, allowing countercurrent heat exchange. As a result, the blood reaching the feet is cooled to reduce heat loss, while the blood returning to the core is reheated before it reaches the heart. This system functions much like the heat exchange networks found in seals and seabirds. Another remarkable feature is the nasal structure. The nasal cavity is large, lined with millions of tiny blood vessels and dense mucous membranes, which warm incoming air and cool outgoing breath. Experiments show that exhaled air is only a few degrees warmer than the surrounding environment, demonstrating near-perfect heat conservation. The eyes of the reindeer display a unique adaptation to the Arctic's light extremes. In winter, the reflective layer of the retina, known as the tapetum lucidum, shifts color from golden to deep blue, increasing sensitivity to dim light. Electron microscopy suggests that this change results from increased intraocular pressure compressing collagen fibers and altering how light is reflected. This allows reindeer to see clearly under low light, or even beneath the aurora where most mammals would be nearly blind. Their hearing and sense of smell are also highly developed, enabling them to detect low-frequency sounds such as wolf footsteps or the scent of lichen buried beneath more than a foot of snow. The reindeer's hooves change seasonally. In summer, they are soft and wide, providing traction on muddy tundra, while in winter, they become hard and sharp for digging through snow and gripping icy surfaces. Mechanical analyses show that the hoof keratin is exceptionally dense, with hardness 3 times greater than that of typical deer. When walking, the joints in the hooves create a faint clicking sound, helping herd members stay together when visibility is poor in fog or blizzards. The digestive system of the reindeer is four-chambered like that of cattle or sheep, but with specialized microorganisms that allow it to digest lichen. Bacteria in the rumen produce the enzyme licheninase, which breaks down the complex carbohydrate lichinin, a nutrient inaccessible to most mammals. This adaptation enables reindeer to survive the winter on a low-energy diet. Their metabolism adjusts seasonally, lowering during the cold months to conserve energy and rising again when food becomes abundant. Average body temperature is around 100 degrees Fahrenheit, but can drop to about 96 during rest or severe storms. The antlers are another striking feature of reindeer biology. They regrow each year, composed of living bone, covered in a soft velvet, rich in blood vessels during development. Once mature, the velvet dries and peels away, revealing solid bone. Both males and females grow antlers, though the timing of shedding differs. Males lose theirs after the rut, while females retain theirs through winter to defend feeding sites for their young. Altogether, the reindeer's physiology represents an extraordinary degree of adaptation to cold, volatile climates, enabling it to remain active, reproduce, and migrate effectively in an environment where few other mammals could endure for long. The mating season of the reindeer takes place primarily in autumn, usually beginning in late September and lasting until early November, depending on geographic region. This period coincides with the rapid decrease in daylight and falling temperatures, which act as biological signals that trigger reproductive activity throughout the population. Endocrine mechanisms play a central role in regulating the reproductive cycle. In males, the rise of testosterone is stimulated by the pituitary gland in response to changes in daylight. Increased testosterone leads to the rapid growth of antlers, thickening of the neck, and behavioral changes such as heightened aggression, territorial defense, and competition. In females, levels of estrogen gradually rise with the onset of fall, preparing the body for ovulation. The estrus cycle lasts about 14 to 20 days, and if fertilization does not occur, it can repeat after roughly 2 weeks. During the peak of the breeding season, mature males establish temporary territories known as leks, or rutting grounds. They mark these areas by rubbing their antlers and bodies against trees or soil, leaving scent from glands located on the forehead and neck. When rival males encounter one another, conflicts erupt. Antler clashes are common ritualized contests meant to determine dominance without causing serious injury. The antlers are structured to distribute impact forces, effectively reducing damage. Battles may last from a few seconds to several minutes, ending when the weaker male withdraws, while the victor gains access to the group of females within his territory. Throughout the rut, males often stop feeding entirely, focusing all their energy on defending territory and mating, which can lead to a body weight loss of up to 20%. Female choice plays a major role in mating success, with females selecting partners based on body size, vocalizations, antler development, and territorial behavior. The male's roar is a critical communication signal, conveying information about body size and health. Acoustic analyses show that larger males produce lower-pitched calls, which correlate directly with reproductive success. Once mating occurs, fertilization typically happens within 24 hours of ovulation. Gestation lasts about 230 to 240 days, depending on climate conditions. During the early stages, embryonic development is deliberately slowed through a process known as delayed implantation, allowing the female to time birth for spring when food is most abundant. This biological strategy greatly enhances calf survival rates. In wild populations, fertilization success ranges between 70 and 80%. After the breeding season, testosterone levels in males drop sharply, they shed their antlers and return to regular feeding patterns to regain strength before winter. Pregnant females focus on storing energy and migrating to safe calving grounds, usually open tundra plains with fewer predators. Reproductive output in reindeer is relatively consistent, with most females giving birth to a single calf each year, while twins are rare and generally occur only when nutrition is abundant. Genetic studies reveal high genetic diversity across reindeer populations, supported by multi-male mating systems and extensive inter-herd migration. The rutting season is therefore a critical phase determining genetic stability and population resilience. Long-term research into hormones, behavior, and genetics is providing scientists with deeper insights into the reproductive strategies and adaptive capacity of reindeer in the face of global climate change. The reindeer is one of the most ecologically important mammals in the Arctic and subarctic regions. Its presence and activity have a direct influence on vegetation, structure, food chains, and nutrient cycles across the tundra. As a migratory herbivore, a reindeer consumes an average of 9 to 13 pounds of vegetation per day in summer feeding, mainly on lichens, grasses, mosses, and willow leaves. This grazing behavior helps regulate plant density, preventing overgrowth of certain species and promoting regeneration of young vegetation. During winter, their diet shifts almost entirely to lichens and mosses, which provide low but stable energy sources. By digging through snow to reach food, they inadvertently break compacted snow layers, exposing the ground beneath and facilitating gas and water exchange processes that influence early spring thawing. Ecologists classify reindeer as ecosystem regulators because their movement and feeding patterns create spatial variation for many other organisms. Areas traversed by large herds often show rapid short-term changes in insect, bird, and soil microbe populations. Their droppings in urine supply essential nitrogen and phosphorus to the soil, boosting plant growth during summer. A large migrating herd can contribute several tons of natural fertilizer to the landscape in a single season. Within the Arctic food web, reindeer are a primary energy source for top predators, such as gray wolves, brown bears, polar bears, and golden eagles. Calves face the highest predation risk, particularly during the first 2 months of life. Carcasses of reindeer that die naturally provide nutrients for scavengers, including Arctic foxes, ravens, and decomposing insect communities, maintaining the flow of energy throughout the tundra ecosystem. Satellite-based studies reveal that reindeer movement also affects climate dynamics on a regional scale. By trampling snow and grazing moss layers, they alter surface reflectivity, increasing albedo, the amount of sunlight reflected back into the atmosphere, thereby reducing heat absorption and moderating local microclimates. The disappearance of reindeer populations in some areas has shown noticeable consequences, including denser moss cover, slower snowmelt, and greater soil erosion. From a population biology perspective, reindeer density is naturally regulated by food availability and environmental conditions. When population size exceeds vegetation capacity, malnutrition and reduced reproductive rates occur. Population cycles of reindeer typically span 8 to 10 years, corresponding with climatic and food supply fluctuations. Beyond their ecological role, reindeer are also vital indicators in climate change research. Because they are highly sensitive to temperature, snow depth, and plant growth timing, they serve as biological markers for global warming. Data gathered from GPS collars, thermal sensors, and stable isotope analyses of hair and bone allow scientists to monitor changes in migration behavior, diet composition, and population health. These insights support predictive models of how climate change affects Arctic ecosystems. In recent decades, the decline of permafrost and increased winter rainfall have created new challenges. Thin layers of ice forming atop snow now block access to ground lichens, leaving herds unable to dig deep enough for food. Several populations in Siberia and Alaska have suffered mass die-offs from starvation or ice entrapment. Current research and conservation programs focus on tracking migration routes, identifying key calving areas, and restricting industrial activity in critical habitats. Understanding the intricate relationship between reindeer and the Arctic ecosystem is not only of biological importance, but also essential for effective environmental management and forecasting future changes in Earth's polar systems. In the farthest reaches of the northern hemisphere, where sunlight is rare and the wind cuts across endless snow, a creature stands as a symbol of endurance. The reindeer, known as the caribou in North America, is the heartbeat of the tundra, the living pulse of a frozen world shaped by cold, hunger, and motion. Its life tells the story of survival itself, of a spirit that refuses to disappear even when the earth turns to ice. For thousands of years, the reindeer has been central to one of the most extreme ecosystems on the planet. Every part of its existence is a masterpiece of adaptation. Both males and females grow antlers to dig through snow and uncover lichen. Its thick, hollow fur traps air to keep it warm. Its wide hooves shift with the seasons to grip ice or soft moss. And its broad nose warms the freezing air before it reaches the lungs. Evolution shaped the reindeer not just to survive the cold, but to live in harmony with it. Across the Arctic, the reindeer performs one of the greatest migrations on Earth. Herds of hundreds of thousands move across vast distances each year, from the tundra's open plains in spring to the forested taiga in winter. They cross frozen rivers, climb icy ridges, and face predators like wolves and bears. Yet they continue forward, guided by instinct and memory older than humanity. Their movement sustains the balance of the Arctic. Wolves depend on them for food. Scavengers follow their trails, and their grazing helps shape the vegetation that covers the tundra. Without them, the ecosystem weakens. For indigenous peoples such as the Sami of Scandinavia and the Nenets of Siberia, the reindeer is not only a source of food, but a sacred partner in life. It provides meat, clothing, tools, and transport. Herding reindeer is a way of survival and a way of respect, built on harmony with nature. But as modern roads, pipelines, and mining operations spread across the Arctic, ancient migration paths are broken. The old balance between humans and reindeer is being lost. The Arctic is now warming 4 times faster than the rest of the world. Winters, once steady, have become unpredictable. Rain freezes into hard layers of ice that trap the lichen beneath, leaving reindeer starving even when food lies just below their hooves. The permafrost is melting. Forests are creeping north, and the open tundra that reindeer need is vanishing. Insects thrive in the warmer air, tormenting the herds through long summers, draining their energy and forcing them to move before they can feed. Reindeer are not just another species. They are a pillar of the Arctic's balance. Their grazing keeps the tundra open, helping to reflect sunlight and keep the planet cool. Their movement spreads nutrients across the land, feeding countless other creatures. When their numbers fall, shrubs spread, the ground darkens, and the permafrost melts faster, a chain reaction that worsens global warming. Protecting reindeer means protecting the stability of the Earth's northern climate. Yet their numbers are falling. In parts of Canada, some herds have lost more than 70% of their population in the past 20 years. In Russia, industrial projects have broken up the Great Siberian herds. Even in Scandinavia, where reindeer are semi-domesticated, warming and construction threaten their traditional roots. The sound of their hooves, once echoing across the tundra, grows fainter each passing year. The struggle of the reindeer is a warning for us all. When they suffer, the Arctic weakens. And when the Arctic weakens, the entire planet feels the change. They are sentinels of climate change, living indicators of the health of the northern world. Protecting them is not just about saving an animal, but about preserving the balance of the Earth's life systems. There is still hope. Scientists and indigenous communities are working together to protect migration routes and create safe zones where herds can move freely. Satellites and drones track their paths, combining traditional wisdom with modern technology to understand and defend their habitats. In Scandinavia and North America, new laws and indigenous initiatives are protecting critical grazing lands from industrial damage. Every effort made for the reindeer is an effort made for the future of the Arctic. Long before myths of flying reindeer filled human imagination, real reindeer carried people through endless winters. They helped shape northern cultures, guiding migrations and inspiring stories of endurance that live on today. To protect them is to honor that ancient bond, a partnership between life and the land. As the sun sets over the tundra, a herd moves quietly across the snow. Their breath rises like mist into the freezing air. They are the spirit of the North, strong, fragile, and timeless. They have carried life through the ages. Now, it is our turn to carry them forward. The Arctic has always been a land of extremes. But today, those extremes are shifting faster than at any time in recorded history. Once a realm of ice and silence, it is now a region in flux, where the very foundation of life, the cold itself, is melting away. For the reindeer, a species born of frost and endurance, this change is not just an environmental challenge, it is a test of survival at the edge of a transforming world. For thousands of years, the Arctic's rhythm was predictable. Winters were long and severe, summers short and mild. Ice formed, snow fell, and the reindeer adapted perfectly to that pattern. Their migrations matched the seasons with astonishing precision. But now, the seasons have become uncertain. Warm spells arrive in the heart of winter. Rains fall when snow should cover the ground. And as temperatures rise, the very landscape that shaped the reindeer's existence is changing beyond recognition. The once solid permafrost, the frozen soil that has locked away carbon for millennia, is thawing. The land sags and collapses as ice within it melts, creating pools and sinkholes where none existed before. New rivers form and old ones vanish. Forests creep northward into what was once open tundra. The delicate carpet of mosses and lichens, so vital to reindeer survival, is trampled and drowned by the spreading roots of birch and willow. What was once an endless plain of white is becoming patchy and uneven. No longer the vast, frozen mirror that reflected the sun's light back into space. As the snow retreats earlier each year, dark soil and vegetation absorb more heat, accelerating the warming process. This feedback loop, once stable for thousands of years, now drives rapid transformation. The Arctic, long the planet's cooling engine, is becoming its warning bell. And the reindeer, bound to these icy cycles, stand at the center of this upheaval. Winter once meant safety. Deep snow provided refuge from predators and sealed away food beneath a layer that could be scraped aside with strong hooves. But now, freezing rain replaces snow in many areas. The rain falls on the ground, freezes into a thick sheet of ice, and traps the lichen underneath. The reindeer can smell the food below but cannot reach it. Herds weaken, calves perish, and entire migrations falter. In a single winter, thousands can die of starvation, surrounded by abundance locked beneath glass. In summer, a new kind of threat emerges. Warmer temperatures bring swarms of insects in numbers never seen before. Mosquitoes, black flies, and parasitic botflies torment the herds for months, driving them to exhaustion. Reindeer spend their days running from the biting clouds, burning energy they cannot afford to lose, unable to feed or rest properly. The tundra, once a refuge of cold purity, becomes a landscape of endless irritation and stress. The predators of the Arctic are also feeling the change. Wolves, struggling to find consistent prey, push closer to human settlements. Bears emerge from hibernation earlier, hungry and disoriented. The web of life, once finely tuned, is now unraveling thread by thread. Every alteration in climate, every shift in vegetation or ice, ripples through the ecosystem, reshaping the balance of life in ways we are only beginning to understand. Reindeer are deeply tied to the snow. It defines their movement, their food, and their defense. When snow becomes ice, their ancient knowledge, the instincts carved by generations, no longer serves them. They dig, but find nothing. They move, but find no path. The Arctic has changed so quickly that even evolution's most perfect traveler cannot keep up. Beyond nature, human activity intensifies the struggle. The search for oil, gas, and minerals pushes deeper into the Arctic, fragmenting landscapes that once stretched unbroken for hundreds of miles. Roads, pipelines, and drilling fields cut through migration routes, scattering herds that depend on open land. Noise from heavy machinery and aircraft drives reindeer away from critical feeding grounds. Even when not hunted, they are chased by the echoes of industry that never fade. For indigenous peoples, the change is not only ecological, but cultural. the Sami, Nenets, and other Arctic communities have herded reindeer for generations, moving with the animals across the frozen plains. Their traditions, songs, and identities are bound to the rhythm of the herds. But as ice roads collapse and weather patterns grow chaotic, ancient knowledge loses its map. Paths that once led to safety now lead to impassable rivers. The people who have lived in harmony with reindeer for centuries are being forced to adapt faster than ever before. Yet even as the Arctic warms, new technologies emerge to understand and protect it. Satellites watch the migrations from space, tracking the shrinking routes of the herds. Drones survey the tundra, revealing where vegetation changes and lichen declines. Scientists study the chemistry of thawing soil, measuring the gases it releases into the air. What they find is both astonishing and alarming. The Arctic is releasing carbon that has been frozen for tens of thousands of years. If this continues, it could accelerate global warming far beyond what humanity can control. Still, there is resilience in the wild. Some herds have begun to alter their migrations, moving earlier in the season or shifting routes to higher ground. Calves born into this new world adapt faster than their parents, learning to graze on new plants and endure longer insect seasons. Evolution, slow yet unstoppable, continues its quiet work beneath the chaos. But whether it can keep pace with the speed of change remains uncertain. The story of the reindeer is now inseparable from the story of the planet. Their struggle mirrors our own, caught between the past and the future, between the familiar and the unknown. They are not simply victims of climate change. They are its messengers, living warnings written across the ice. To ignore them is to ignore the Arctic itself, and by extension, the stability of the Earth's climate system. The protection of the reindeer is therefore more than conservation. It is a test of our willingness to act before the tipping points are reached. By preserving their migration routes, by limiting industrial encroachment, and by respecting the traditional wisdom of the people who live with them, we preserve more than a species. We preserve a living symbol of balance and endurance. The Arctic has always been a place of extremes, a world of blinding light and endless night. But it has never been lifeless. Even now, under the strain of warming, life pushes forward, lichens still grow on ancient rocks. Snow still falls in silent beauty, and reindeer still move across the horizon. Their breath steams in the cold air. Their hooves mark paths across a changing earth. They remind us that life does not stop when the world changes, it adapts. It endures. It fights to remain. And if we choose to protect them, if we listen to what the Arctic is telling us through their struggle, then perhaps we too can learn how to endure. The Arctic is changing, but the story is not over. The reindeer are still here, carrying the memory of ice in their blood, the strength of centuries in their stride, and the hope of the North in their eyes. The question now is whether we will stand beside them or watch as the silence of a melting world replaces the thunder of their hooves forever. To understand why the reindeer must be protected, we must first see the Arctic not as a barren wasteland, but as a living, breathing system where every creature, every plant, and every gust of wind plays a role in maintaining balance. The Arctic is not dead. It is alive with rhythm and relationship, and the reindeer is one of its greatest architects. Within its migrations, its feeding, and its sheer endurance lies a network of connections that sustains life from the smallest lichen to the mightiest predator. The reindeer's story begins in the soil. Beneath the frozen surface of the tundra lies a web of microscopic life fungi, bacteria, and algae that form the foundation of this ecosystem. Lichens, the main winter food of reindeer, are slow-growing symbiotic organisms made of fungus and algae living as one. They spread across the ground like a fragile skin, absorbing nutrients from the air and anchoring the soil against erosion. When reindeer graze, they do more than eat. They prune and shape this living carpet, helping it regenerate and keeping the tundra open. Without their constant movement and selective feeding, the lichens would be overgrown by faster-growing shrubs, and the tundra would slowly turn to forest. Their droppings fertilize the earth, releasing nitrogen that feeds mosses and small plants, which in turn support insects and rodents. This simple act of grazing thus echoes upward through the food chain. Arctic foxes, owls, and even wolves depend indirectly on the nutrients that reindeer spread across vast distances. The reindeer is not just a consumer, it is a gardener, a traveler, and a creator of balance. The wolf, one of the reindeer's greatest predators, is also one of its closest partners in evolution. Their relationship is ancient, a dance of survival that shapes both species. Wolves keep herds strong by preying on the weak and sick, preventing disease from spreading. In return, the reindeer's migrations guide the wolves across the tundra, providing sustenance in a landscape where food is scarce. This predator-prey relationship, though cruel at first glance, is the heartbeat of a healthy ecosystem. To remove one is to weaken the other. Even scavengers, like ravens and wolverines, depend on the reindeer. When a reindeer dies, its body becomes a feast that feeds dozens of creatures. Ravens circle above. Foxes dig through the snow. And countless insects thrive in the nutrients released. In death, the reindeer continues to give life, closing the circle that began in the soil. The tundra is not a place of waste. It is a place of eternal recycling, and the reindeer stands at its center. When herds migrate, they carve natural pathways through the wilderness. These trails, passed down for generations, become arteries of the Arctic routes that guide not only reindeer, but also other animals that follow their paths. Birds use the open ground they leave behind as feeding sites. Predators follow their scent. Even human travelers have used these trails for centuries, following the same routes across frozen rivers and endless plains. These invisible lines connect ecosystems that stretch for thousands of kilometers, ensuring that life remains mobile, resilient, and connected. But as the climate warms and human activity expands, these pathways are being cut apart. Pipelines, fences, and roads slice through ancient routes, blocking migration and isolating herds. When a migration is broken, it is not just the reindeer that suffer. The entire web of life is torn apart. Nutrients stop flowing, predators lose their prey, and the tundra grows silent. Fragmentation is one of the greatest threats facing the Arctic, because in a land of movement, to stop is to die. In the far north, the reindeer's hooves shape the very climate of the earth. When they graze on shrubs and mosses, they expose patches of snow that reflect sunlight, helping to cool the surface. In areas where reindeer are absent, vegetation grows denser and darker, absorbing more heat and accelerating the thaw of permafrost. Scientists studying this effect have found that regions with active reindeer populations warm more slowly than those without. The herds, simply by living as they always have, help regulate the planet's temperature. They are not just Arctic creatures, they are part of the Earth's natural climate control. Reindeer also influence water systems. Their trails compact the snow, creating channels that guide meltwater into streams and rivers. This helps distribute water evenly across the tundra, sustaining wetlands and lakes where birds nest and fish breed. In this way, the steps of a reindeer echo into every corner of the ecosystem, shaping not only land and vegetation, but also air and water. Every calf born on the tundra carries this legacy. In spring, when the snow begins to melt, pregnant females move to the calving grounds open, wind-swept plains where predators are easy to spot. There, in the fragile warmth of May or June, new life emerges. Within hours, calves stand on trembling legs, learning the rhythm of migration that will guide them for life. The bond between mother and calf is deep and silent, sustained by instinct and endurance. For weeks, the herd remains close, protecting the young, until the great journey north resumes. The future of the species depends on these moments of quiet strength. But that future is uncertain. In recent years, calving grounds have been disturbed by noise, pollution, and human encroachment. Industrial projects, once limited to the edges of the Arctic, now reach deep into its heart. Helicopters, mining operations, and oil exploration break the silence that the reindeer rely on. Calves, sensitive to disturbance, panic easily and become separated from their mothers. A single failed calving season can devastate a herd for years. The importance of reindeer extends beyond ecology. It touches culture, identity, and spirituality. For indigenous peoples, the reindeer is a bridge between the physical and spiritual worlds. Their songs, rituals, and legends tell of reindeer spirits that guide the seasons and protect the land. The animal is not hunted for sport, but honored for its sacrifice, with every part used respectfully. This relationship of reverence contrasts sharply with modern exploitation. To the Sami and Nenets, losing the reindeer would mean losing not just an animal, but a way of understanding the world, a worldview built on interdependence and respect for the natural order. In this light, protecting the reindeer becomes an act of cultural preservation as well as ecological defense. It means defending knowledge passed through generations. Knowledge that teaches us how to live within the limits of nature rather than above it. Indigenous herders know the land in ways that science alone cannot replicate. They read the snow like a map, sense weather changes through the air, and understand the subtle signals of reindeer behavior that reveal when danger or hunger is near. When traditional wisdom and modern science work together, the results are powerful. Monitoring reindeer with satellite tags, studying their diet through genetic analysis, and managing land use with indigenous input create a model of coexistence that offers hope for the Arctic's future. The web of life in the Arctic depends on balance. When that balance is broken, the consequences spread far beyond the poles. Melting permafrost releases methane into the atmosphere, intensifying global warming. Disrupted migrations reduce the tundra's ability to reflect sunlight, altering weather patterns across continents. The fate of the reindeer, therefore, is intertwined with the fate of humanity. They are a thread in a vast tapestry that connects the health of the Arctic to the stability of the entire planet. In every ecosystem, there are species that hold everything together, keystones that support the arch of life. Remove them, and the structure collapses. The reindeer is one such keystone. To protect it is to safeguard an entire realm of existence. To lose it is to open the door to a cascade of change that could reshape the world we know. In the silence of the tundra, the reindeer continues its journey. Hooves beat against the snow. Breath rises in clouds, and antlers shimmer in the pale Arctic light. Each step it takes keeps the balance alive. The tundra breathes through their movement. The soil thrives under their passage, and the sky reflects their endurance. The reindeer teaches us that survival is not about domination, but connection. It reminds us that every living thing, no matter how small or vast, plays a part in keeping the earth alive. Protecting the reindeer is not an act of charity, it is an act of wisdom. A recognition that in saving them, we save a piece of ourselves. The Arctic's web of life still holds, delicate but strong, waiting for us to decide whether we will preserve its threads or let them unravel into silence. As long as the reindeer walk the tundra, there is hope. Hope that balance can return, that harmony can endure, and that the song of the North will never fade. In the quiet vastness of the Arctic, beneath skies that glow with the northern lights, the reindeer continues its ancient march. Yet with each passing year, that march grows harder, more uncertain, more fragile. The world that once shaped the reindeer's destiny is shifting faster than it can adapt. If the Arctic is the heart of the planet's climate system, then the reindeer is its pulse, and that pulse is weakening. To protect it is to defend not only a species, but the balance of an entire world. Preservation begins with understanding. The reindeer is not an isolated creature. It is a thread woven through ecosystems, cultures, and climates. To lose it would unravel the delicate fabric that has held the Arctic together for thousands of years. This is not just a question of wildlife conservation, it is a question of planetary health, of moral responsibility, and of human identity. The first step in protection is knowledge. Science, in its growing precision, has revealed how deeply interconnected the reindeer's life is with global systems. Satellite imaging shows migrations interrupted by industrial expansion. Climate data reveals temperature shifts that destroy lichen pastures. Genetic studies trace how populations are being fragmented into smaller, more vulnerable groups. Every discovery points to the same truth. The survival of the reindeer depends on our ability to protect their habitat, to preserve open space, and to limit the damage caused by human industry. Protected zones are essential. Large, uninterrupted tracts of tundra must be safeguarded from roads, pipelines, and drilling. These lands are not empty, they are alive, filled with the quiet hum of life that depends on space to move freely. When we draw boundaries around these areas, we are not keeping people out, we are keeping life alive. In regions where herds can migrate without obstruction, populations stabilize and ecosystems recover. But protection must go beyond lines on a map. It must include collaboration between scientists, governments, and the indigenous peoples who know the land better than anyone else. For centuries, the Sami, Nenets, and other Arctic communities have lived alongside the reindeer, guiding them through the cycles of the seasons. Their wisdom passed through generations contains insights that modern science is only beginning to rediscover. They understand the snow, the winds, the subtle cues of animal behavior that signal changes long before they appear in data charts. True preservation must honor this knowledge, merging it with technology to create strategies rooted in respect and balance. Climate action is equally crucial. The warming Arctic cannot be reversed without reducing global greenhouse gas emissions. Every ton of carbon released into the atmosphere pushes the tundra closer to collapse. By protecting the climate, we protect the reindeer's home. Renewable energy, sustainable practices, and global cooperation are not abstract ideals. They are the tools that will determine whether the Arctic remains a living system or becomes a relic of what once was. Conservation also demands restraint. In the modern world, economic ambition often outweighs ecological caution. The Arctic holds vast reserves of oil, gas, and minerals resources that tempt industries and governments alike. But to extract them is to sacrifice the very stability that makes life possible. The value of the reindeer, of the tundra, of the Arctic ecosystem cannot be measured in profit. It must be measured in survival, in the preservation of a living balance that supports every breath we take. True progress is not expansion, but protection. Education plays a powerful role. People protect what they understand and love. By teaching future generations about the Arctic, by showing them the beauty and fragility of the reindeer's world, we nurture empathy, the foundation of preservation. Documentaries, schools, and community projects can turn awareness into action. When children see the world through the eyes of a reindeer calf struggling through snow, they begin to understand that humanity's fate is tied to the health of the natural world. Modern technology can also be a guardian rather than a destroyer. Drones can monitor herd movements without disturbance. Satellite data can track vegetation growth and reveal threats before they spread. Artificial intelligence can predict migration changes and help plan safe corridors for the herds. The tools that once fueled exploitation can now serve protection if guided by wisdom and purpose. Preservation, however, is not just about protecting landscapes. It is about restoring relationships. For too long, humans have viewed nature as something separate, a resource to be used, rather than a partner to coexist with. The reindeer challenges that view. It teaches us that survival is mutual, that we depend on the same cycles of water, air, and soil that sustain all living things. Protecting the reindeer means accepting our place within the natural order, not above it. Every herd that survives, every migration that continues unbroken, is a victory. In Norway, herders have begun adjusting migration schedules to avoid industrial zones. In Russia, conservation groups work to reconnect fragmented landscapes. In Canada and Alaska, indigenous councils manage reindeer and caribou populations based on traditional knowledge, reviving old practices that kept herds healthy for centuries. These are stories of hope, proof that coexistence is not a dream, but a choice. Yet time is short. The Arctic's transformation accelerates each year. The ice melts faster. The forests creep farther north. And the permafrost releases ancient gases that amplify global warming. Each loss compounds the next. If the reindeer vanish, the tundra will darken, warming more quickly. If the tundra collapses, more carbon will rise into the air. The chain reaction will reach far beyond the poles, altering weather, agriculture, and oceans across the world. The reindeer's struggle is not a distant tragedy. It is a reflection of our shared future. Preserving them means preserving stability itself. The Arctic acts as Earth's thermostat, regulating temperature and climate. The reindeer, by keeping the tundra reflective and open, are part of that system. To protect them is to defend a balance that sustains billions of lives far beyond the frozen north. But preservation must also be emotional. Facts and data alone cannot inspire change. It is empathy that moves people to act. The sight of a herd crossing the horizon at dawn, the sound of hooves echoing over frozen ground, the bond between mother and calf. In a world of silence, these images awaken something ancient within us. They remind us of what it means to belong to the earth, not to own it. The reindeer is a living symbol of that belonging. In the end, the question is not whether we can save the reindeer, but whether we will choose to. The answer lies in our values, in whether we see nature as a partner in life or a resource to be exhausted. To protect the reindeer is to protect the idea of coexistence itself. It is to stand for humility in a world that too often forgets its dependence on the wild. As the Arctic night deepens and the aurora dances across the sky, a herd moves silently below. Their breath glows in the cold air. Their antlers glint with frost. Their steps echo across the snow like a heartbeat of the earth. They are the memory of the ancient world, the guardians of the north and the living proof that endurance is possible even at the edge of the impossible. If we choose to listen, their message is clear. Protect the land, and it will protect you. Respect the balance, and life will endure. Ignore it, and silence will follow. The reindeer's call is not only the cry of a species, it is the voice of the planet itself, asking us to remember what it means to live in harmony with the world. The spirit of the North still walks among us. It asks for nothing more than the chance to continue. Our task is simple, yet immense, to ensure that the thunder of hooves, the breath of ice, and the living rhythm of the reindeer never fade into memory. The choice belongs to us, and the time is now.